Hey, beautiful souls. So great to connect here. Today, I want to talk about something that might feel a little bit confronting, but if you let it really land, it could completely change how you relate to money and how money shows up for you and how money ends up showing up for you in your bank account. If you are like most of the people, I would even hazard a guess to say all of the people that I work with, you're not sitting around doing nothing. You're showing up. You are thinking about your business. You are putting your message out in the world. You're creating offers. You're showing up on social media. You're networking. You're following all kinds of strategies. Yes? And yet, even with all of that happening, the money that's coming into your bank account isn't matching your effort. It feels like there's a huge disconnect. There's all of this effort and energy, whether that's mental energy, whether that's actual out in the world action energy, whether it's emotional energy. But anyway, you've got all of that going on, and there's a disconnect between that and what it is that you're getting. And it can even feel like a gap, right? Like there's just this canyon, this cavernous canyon between you and what you want, between what it is that you're doing and efforting and what you're receiving. And I can say personally for myself, and I hear it from my clients as well, that that gap between what I'm doing and what I'm receiving can start to feel super personal. Like, what am I doing wrong? What am I missing? Why is this working for other people and not for me? There's must be something wrong. There's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with my methods. There's something wrong. And maybe even it's just a period at the end of a sentence. There's something wrong with me, period. There's something wrong, period. It's a painful space to be in. Speaking from personal experience, speaking from the experience that my clients share with me. Right? So, what I want to explore today is this. What if the issue isn't that you're not doing enough? What if the issue is where your doing is coming from? What if the issue isn't that you're not doing enough, right? It's not having not enough in your bank account, having this gap between all the effort that you're putting in and what you want. Okay, the issue isn't that you're not doing enough. The issue is where that doing is coming from. That's what we're going to talk about today. Okay. Years ago, I started out doing fertility work. I worked with women primarily who were experiencing infertility. People would find me after they had done multiple IVFs, and that's when we would start doing our mind, body, soul work for fertility. And I saw this same pattern over and over again. Right? The women I worked with wanted a baby so deeply. There was a strong yearning, there was a strong desire, and they were literally doing everything. They were tracking their cycles. They were doing all kinds of research. They were doing acupuncture. They were doing Chinese medicine. They had visited with reproductive endocrinologists. They changed their diets. They meditated. Um, they were doing everything. They were optimizing everything they possibly could, and they were all incredibly committed. We used to joke that if I told them what they needed to do was literally stand on their heads for the next week, they would do it. Right? They were committed to having a baby, and they were committed to doing whatever it took to have a baby. And yet, they came to me because their bodies weren't responding. They either weren't able to get pregnant or they weren't able to hold pregnancies, right? And yet they were continuing to do and do. Their schedules were packed with everything related to fertility. What I began to understand in my work and what I was teaching was that they were approaching something that requires receptivity from a place of effort and force. And of course they were. That's what we teach, right? That's so much that's threaded throughout our culture, is that if you want something, you have to do, you have to effort, you have to expend energy, you have to have your calendar full, right? But they were doing it from this place, all of these action steps, they were doing it from a place of effort and force. So it sounded a lot like something's wrong. Of course there's something wrong, because if there wasn't something wrong in my body, I'd already have a baby. I have to fix it. I have to fix it. I have to make this happen. I have to make this baby happen. And that energy, that guiding force, even though it makes sense, there's something that you want so deeply. It's something that's held. It's held so deeply in your body. It was held so deeply, right down into that sacral center, right? It was such a desire, a need, right? And so even though that energy of I have to make this happen makes sense, it was creating tension in the body. Right? It created stress, and stress is a four-letter word when it comes to fertility. I won't get into that, right? So if you're somebody who is at this moment dealing with your own fertility challenges, or if you have in the past, please know that when I say stress, I'm talking about the biomarkers in the body. And of course, there's stress going through fertility treatment. But when you're in that space of I have to make it happen, it's going to amplify the stress in your body. Your body is going to read it as stress. And when you're in that space of stress, when you're in that space of having to make something happen, it pulls you out of connection with yourself. Okay. So observing that pattern and knowing what I know about mind, body, soul work, what I was teaching was something that wasn't meant to replace action. You might need to do an IVF cycle, or your body might desire acupuncture or Chinese medicine or yoga, right? But what I was teaching was about what to do before the action. I started teaching them how to be with their bodies differently, how to reconnect to the knowing that nothing was actually broken, that their fertility system wasn't broken. I was teaching them how to soften, how to allow their body to move toward balance instead of trying to force it there. Really, what I was teaching was how to be fertile. And here's what's fascinating. I see the exact same pattern with money. When we want more money, we switch into this force and effort mode when actually money is a receptive energy. We receive money. So let's talk about the doing approach to money. And this is where most people are operating from, especially when things aren't working out the way that they want. Okay. So the doing approach often sounds like this. There's something really wrong right now. Because if there wasn't something wrong, I'd already be making the money that I want. My bank account would be humongous. I must be missing something. There's a strategy. There's got to be a strategy I haven't figured out yet. Maybe I'm not consistent enough. Maybe I'm not visible enough. Maybe I'm not doing enough. I need to push more. I need to show up more. I need to figure this out. That's what I hear all the time. I need to figure this out. There's got to be an answer. There has to be a why. I got to figure this out. And again, that line of thinking, that way of being, of feeling, it makes sense. It's how we're taught. But underneath all of that is this sort of pulsating pressure. If I don't do enough, the money won't come. If I don't do enough, the money can't come. If I don't do enough, I'm not going to get what I want. And look, this energy can externally look like it's really productive. You're posting on social media, you're creating programs, you're creating books, you're creating talks, you're thinking, you're trying, you're doing. You're in that mode. Nobody who would look at your calendar, right? Just like I was speaking about the fertility clients having a calendar full of activities, nobody would doubt you and your doing this. If they looked at your calendar is chock full. But internally, what you're feeling when you are in that doing mode is tension and pressure and urgency, second guessing what you're doing, constantly evaluating and reevaluating and reevaluating. You post something and then you go check to see how many likes you have or any comments or DMs that you're getting. You put out an offer and then you brace a bit, like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen. You have a really good month. You have a really great month. And then you get to the end of the month, you're like, oh, how's that ever going to happen again? I wonder when that's going to happen again. When, I guess it's just all going to drop off again. And this internal tension is what creates that feast and famine cycle of something really amazing happening and then it all drops out, right? This doing cycle is what creates that feast and famine cycle. Not because you're not capable, not because you don't have a good business, not because you don't have an important message for the world, not because you don't have clients out there, but because your system is operating from pressure, not receptivity. And when you do that, you are basically stiff arming the universe. You're putting up huge stop signs to the universe. You are telling the divine, I need to work hard for what I receive. But by focusing on the results and realizing I haven't received yet, I'm amplifying this underlying belief that I'm not doing enough. So you end up in this vicious cycle. Okay, deliver me amazing results once I have done enough. Oh, wait a minute, I'm not getting results, so I must not have done enough. So now I need to do more. Okay, universe, I haven't done enough, right? Can you hear how that creates this feedback loop that just isn't ever going to bring you what it is that you want? And it's exhausting. It's so unbelievably exhausting to be in that doing approach. It's exhausting physically, it's exhausting mentally and emotionally, and quite frankly, spiritually. Because we get in this space of, yeah, but I'm proving myself. I'm doing all the things. So where the blippity blip are you, divine? Where are you, universe? Where is it? Where's my stuff? Where is it? Oh, it is such an exhausting space to live. And it's really not very efficient. So the counterpoint to the doing approach is the being approach. What is the being approach when it comes to money? What I need to say first is being is not about doing nothing. It's not about just, sit back and hoping money shows up. It's not about sitting on the couch and eating bonbons and going, well, maybe my ship will come in today. Maybe that money will be here. The being approach is about where you're rooted before you act. Action and doing are always going to be part of the cycle. Always. We're human. When you employ the being approach, there's less of the doing, because you are very specific about what you're doing. Okay. The being approach to money sounds like this from an internal dialogue kind of a place. Here's what it would sound like inside your head. Even when everything financial feels uncertain, I know I'm an abundant being. I'm not separate from money. Money is a resource that I'm in relationship with. I choose to stay connected to that relationship, even when my external reality hasn't caught up yet. I trust that I'm going to be guided to the right ideas, the right actions, the right timing. I don't have to force money. I allow myself to receive it. Okay, can you feel the difference from the doing approach? Right? It's not passive. It's grounded. It's connected. And from that place, you still act. But the action is going to feel different. The action is never going to feel frantic. It's never going to feel like you're proving something. It's not trying to fix something that feels broken. It's creating alignment. The being approach to money creates alignment in your relationship with money. It creates alignment with you and money and the divine. I want to be really clear. The problem is not that you're not doing enough. The problem is that your doing is coming from disconnection. Disconnection from yourself, disconnection from money, disconnection from the divine, and disconnection cannot create sustainable money. You might be able to push and create a spike. You might have a good month. And you've done that, right? You have been able to push and create a spike. And you have been able to have a good month. But it doesn't stay around. When you operate from disconnection, the flow that you receive doesn't hold because the foundation underneath it isn't steady. And this is where so many of us get stuck. You keep trying to fix the action instead of looking at the state the action is coming from. When you begin to lead with being first, you're going to notice a number of changes. Some of these might happen right away. Some of these are not going to be overnight changes. But what you're changing is actually going to last. What you start to receive is actually going to last. So when you're in that space of taking that being approach with money, you start to feel less reactive to money. You're not on the same emotional roller coaster. You're going to make clearer decisions. You're not going to spiral if something doesn't work. You're going to begin to trust yourself in a new way. Right? When money does come in, you're going to have a whole new experience. And have you noticed when money's come in before and you're like, it's almost like you're holding your breath, like, how long is this going to last? Right? So when you are really solid in that being approach, when you do have money come in, you're not going to react the same way. You're not going to immediately tighten or brace or try to manage it, try to hold it, right? Have you ever had some time where you've had really great months and so there's extra and maybe there's more than extra, right? There's an amount that you haven't had before. It's like, oh, great, this is fantastic. Now it's time to do all these things that I wanted to do with the money, but you don't want to let it out. Right? So when you come from that being approach and you understand that you are a part of the divine, you are in partnership with money, and you get that gets to drive everything, you can actually let money flow out because you trust that it's going to come back in. You're going to be able to be in a space where you can hold your space of goodness within. You can actually hold the fact. You can know that something is flowing in and it's going to feel like amazing because this is going to continue to happen. You are building your capacity to hold goodness. Because we don't want to just create money. We want to be able to receive it and let it hang around and then have its money friends come and join it. Right? But from a space of receiving. Because if you're always out there over and over and creating and creating and creating and doing and doing and doing, you forget about the being side of it. Okay? And as I said, it's exhausting. So let's just take a moment and feel the truth of this in your body. Okay. So if it is comfortable for you to close your eyes, or if it's safe, as long as it's safe for you to close your eyes right now, go ahead and do that. And just sink into this moment. Take a nice deep breath. And I want you to just bring to mind the topic of money. And notice where you feel tightness in your body. Where does it feel like you are just holding on with both hands in regards to money? Where does it feel like you just have to figure it out? Where's that grip? Notice where the grip is in your body when it comes to money. And just bring your awareness to that part of your body. And I want you first to just notice it. You don't have to fix it. You don't have to change it. You just notice. Notice where that is. And now I want you to ask your body, where is the place in you that is already connected with the flow of abundance, the flow of money? This part of you that already knows that your divinity, money is a divine resource, you're in relationship with it. And as you notice that, I want you to breathe into it. And I want you to ask your body or your soul or the divine, whatever level feels most appropriate for you. Just notice how you can anchor that knowing in a new way. And ask your body, the divine, your soul to show you what signal it wants to give you when you're in more of that gripping, doing, forcing space, and what the invitation is to move back into this place, this part of you that already knows that you get to allow and receive. Beautiful. So that might be an exercise that you need to do a couple of times. And my invitation to you is that when you notice that you're in that doing space, and the doing space that is the force and effort, not simply action, but notice, right, that come from is more of a pushing, a striving, a yearning, a needing. When you're there, close your eyes, and whatever your body or your soul or the divine has shared with you as a way to bridge, as to activate that other space, create that activation. Each time you do it, it's going to get easier and easier and easier. And you'll be able to begin to live from that space and create decisions from that space. Okay. All right. So I want to leave you with this question. Are you trying to create money from doing or from being? And what might shift for you if you allowed being to come first? If all of this resonated with you, I have something called Meet Your Prosperous Self. It's a no charge guided experience that helps you reconnect to the part of you who already knows how to receive. Because believe me, that version of you already exists. It's just about remembering. I will put a link for that in the comments below. And always take what landed today and just begin to notice. Things don't have to change overnight. Everything doesn't have to change in order for your bank account to change. Okay. All right, everyone. It's been wonderful hanging out with you today. And until next time, I offer prosperous blessings. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.